G'day, and welcome to the video version of 7 suggestions for negotiating with your providers. Let's jump right into it. So, the suggestion number 1 for when you are negotiating with your providers and to hopefully to make that process go as smoothly as possible is be prepared to compromise. Chances are when we are trying to arrange something with someone that we're not going to be able to get everything that we necessarily would hope for that's going to be ideal for us. And that's no different when you're dealing with providers or support workers. So it's important to remember that working with support workers is a personal relationship, of course, and that's very important, but it's also a business relationship. And there are times when we need to make decisions based on money or what is going to work for us, even if that perhaps creates some tension or worry around how other people might react. Okay, so it is important to keep that in mind, that your relationship with your support worker works on 2 levels. It's personal and business. And of course, workers may not be available exactly when you need them or want them to be there. And they may also not be prepared to work for the exact price that you feel is the right price for you to pay. So there may need to be some give and take around that to be able to cement the relationship and go, okay, this is going to work for both of us. Now, one way around being able to avoid having to accept an arrangement with a support worker or a provider that you're not happy with is to start organising services as early as you can. Because that way, even if the situation with the first worker that you try, or the second worker, or the third worker even, if it doesn't work out, you still may have time then to go and look at other workers and try other people. If you wait until the last minute to start getting services organised, it then becomes difficult. And you have less choice and less control over how the service is set up. Okay, so suggestion number 2, ask questions. Okay, it's really important to know and to feel confident that you can ask why. Okay, if a provider says they can't help you or they're not able to do something the way that you want it done, you can ask them why. And you can ask them who is responsible for making that decision. Why can't they do something? And if the question asked in the right way, if it's asked calmly, politely, it can be a way of showing the provider that you're trying to understand their point of view. Okay, and that means then that you are showing them that you are prepared to look for a compromise if they have a good reason for not being able to do it that way. Okay, if they don't have a good reason or they can't give you a good reason, that's a different story. Okay, and we'll get to that later on, what you might do in that situation. But, of course, ask questions is suggestion number 2. Okay. Suggestion number 3, keep written records. Write things down. Okay. Setting up services means that there will be a lot of details that need to be worked out. For example, where the service is going to happen, when, what days, what times, what kind of support do you want the provider to offer you? Who's going to be providing it? Do you want a male support worker? Do you want a female support worker? Where is it going to happen? Is it going to happen in your home? Is it going to happen out in the community? If it's happening in the community, who's going to be responsible for getting you to where you want to go? Are you going to be driving your own car? Will the support worker be driving you in their car? All these details need to be worked out, okay, for the service to run well. And because there are so many details that need to be worked out, it's very difficult to hold all of those details in your head, okay? It's really important that they're written down so that then if there is a problem later on, you can refer back to those details and go, okay, this is what we actually talked about. This is what we agreed. Now, let's make that happen. We've got away from that a bit. Now it's time to bring it back and work on what we talked about originally. And written records are really important for that. One other thing that I would say here too is don't rely on the provider to write things down for you necessarily. It's a really good idea to keep your own records. So whether that means that you yourself write things down, write the details down, or whether you find a support person who can help you to do that as well, someone who's not going to be paid from this service, so that they don't have a conflict of interest, they can help you to write things down as well, okay? Avoid relying completely on the service provider. Okay, suggestion number 4. Have a support person to back you up. Okay, so this goes back to what we were talking about with the written records and writing stuff down, right? So a support person can help you to take notes, okay, and also to communicate clearly. So to help you to get your point across, if you need a bit of help with that, or to help you to understand information that is coming from the provider to you, okay? Now, a support person can potentially be anyone that you trust, right? It might be a family member, it might be a friend, it might be another support worker, it might be an NDIS support coordinator, it might be an NDIS local area coordinator, it might be a disability advocate. Could be any of those people. But the key thing is that you trust this person to pass on the information to you accurately, okay, and to explain it in a way that is going to allow you to make good choices. That's really important. And of course, the support person then, if you do choose to have someone involved to support you during your conversation with a provider, that person can then back you up. They can support you if there is a disagreement with the provider, okay? And if you feel like you need to push things a little bit, that person can help you again to get your point across. Okay, suggestion number 5 is it's not you, it's them. Okay, now what I mean by that is providers and support workers in the NDIS, their whole reason for being is to support people who need help, yeah, okay, of different kinds. And so if a provider tells you that they're not able to support you, maybe they tell you they're not able to do things in a particular way that you want them done, there may be a good reason for that. Okay, it may be to do around the needs of their business or the skills that they have that their workers may have. If you're looking for a particular kind of support and their support workers don't have the skills needed to offer that, it's not going to work, right? And it may be in your best interest in the long run not to get involved with that provider. So this comes back to asking questions, right? If a provider says to you that they can't do something for some reason, ask them why. Ask them why, okay? But if they are able to give you a good reason, a reason that you can accept, that may actually be a sign that this provider is honest and trustworthy as well, because they're trying to do the right thing by you in letting you know, especially if they let you know in the beginning when you're first talking about setting up the service. They're actually trying to do the right thing by you in letting you know that working with them may not be the best fit for you. Okay, so it's important to understand, if things fall through, it's not you, it may be them, the providers. Which leads us to suggestion number 6, be prepared to walk away. Okay, this is a really tried and true tactic, I guess, when you're negotiating business arrangements, okay, and you're haggling on prices. Leaving a negotiation or saying that you're thinking about, giving up on the negotiation can show the provider that you're serious, that you're getting frustrated, that it's not working, and that it's irritating that you can't come to a compromise. Okay. Now, some providers may, when you first start talking to them, they may try to hassle you into signing up with them. They may also try that after you say you're thinking about walking away from the negotiation too. So be aware that if you do decide that the conversation is not working for you and things are not going to work out, be aware that there may be some pressure, some blowback from the provider. But again, that is also somewhere where a support person can help you. If they're involved, they can help you then to stand up to that pressure and to push back against the provider and go, hey, come on, this is not on. This is not acceptable behaviour. So the last suggestion that I have for you today is trying to end the conversation with the provider on good terms. No matter whether you end up deciding to work with a provider or a support worker and you organise a service agreement and you get services started and things are going great, that's terrific. But if things don't work out and you're not able to find a compromise on the details of the service, trying to end that conversation on good terms can be a useful way of giving you more choices and more options in the future. Okay. Of course, not being able to find a compromise when you need a service, a support service, and not being able to find a compromise with a provider that's going to allow it to work, that can be frustrating, no doubt. But it's important to be aware that it's okay to tell a provider when a deal, when an offer doesn't suit you. Okay, it's really important to be able to feel confident in being able to say that. And if you need a support person, obviously, to help you to do that, well, that's what they're there for, right? Now, how you tell the provider that the offer doesn't work for you is really important in ending the conversation well. So being able to do it calmly and politely may then open up the opportunity for you to restart that conversation at some point in the future with that provider. Say, for example, you miss out with a provider this time, you're looking for a support worker and they don't have someone who's going to be able to work with you. But 6 months down the track, you're looking again, and because that first conversation ended well, you go, oh, you know what? I can go back to that provider and try again because it ended okay last time. They were reasonably easy to talk to. It was just unfortunate that it didn't work out. Whereas if the conversation ends badly, it's a lot more difficult to go back to that provider and restart that conversation. So those are my seven suggestions for negotiating with providers. Okay. But I'm also really interested in hearing about your experience and learning from things that you might have tried, things that might have worked for you, whether maybe you've tried some of the suggestions here and they didn't work for you. I'd be really interested to hear about all of that. So, as you can see on the screen there, you've got some different ways of contacting me through Facebook, through our YouTube channel, via email, or via my phone number there. Feel free to give me a call or send me a text message, whatever works for you. Would love to hear from you. Hopefully these suggestions prove useful for you and you get something out of it. But yeah, I'm always open to hearing about other people's experience, and I would love to hear from you about what's worked for you when you've been setting up services. So thanks very much. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to talking to you again next time. Cheers.